Hi, this is Roger. Thanks for dropping by. Welcome to the Sunday chat. Quite an assortment today, and we're going to start with, because it needs to be relatively quick, because it's only really relevant for people who are thinking of becoming a YouTube member, but a note for those that already are. YouTube have done something, well, they haven't done it yet. It's due to start. If I don't do anything, it's due to start on the 17th of August, I think was the date, whatever the significance of that is. But by what they're going to do, I've had to think backwards to see what's been going on in the past that they've never declared. Now obviously, my memberships, there's 3 layers, 3 tiers, whatever you want to call it, and they're all different donation requirements to be a member on those tiers. And I set those levels in GBP, Great Britain pounds. You know, that is the currency of the country I live in. Well, many members are joining from non-UK countries. Well, they don't pay in pounds, they pay in their own currency. What conversion rate's being used? This is me thinking backwards. And I don't think YouTube have got a dynamic conversion rate for the point at which somebody joins. In other words, if you join from Canada, you'll be paying in Canadian dollars, yeah? And I don't believe they have software geared up to actually checking the price and doing a direct conversion at that point in time. I don't think they've been doing that. Well, if they haven't, then what they must have been doing is having fixed conversion rates based on a point in the past. And maybe they update them now and again. Maybe they don't. Who knows? Half the time they don't let on what goes on. But what's changing then? What's changing is that the basic conversion rates used are going to get updated, and it means an awful lot of them are going up. Now obviously YouTube is American, so the base from which they're expanding outwards to all the other countries is based on the US dollar. Fair enough. And that'll include, you know, my English pounds. So yeah, so that's what's coming up. And as I said, what triggered my thinking backwards as to what's been going on in the past is the fact that they published what they're going to change to. Well, they don't know what the conversion rate's going to be on the 17th of August, but they published them now. Somewhere in there's going to be a con. Somewhere in there it's going to be to YouTube's advantage. That I can guarantee. But anyway, that's what's coming up. Now they have declared, I've seen it in writing, that this does not affect existing members. Whatever their rate is that they get charged on a monthly basis remains the same. I'll add on the end for now. That's me, not YouTube. Because I just got a horrible feeling that that could change way down the line perhaps. Who knows? But at the moment, this change isn't implemented yet. I can implement it now if I want. You know, I can actually change my system settings. Or I can wait till this magic date and they will do it for me. And I won't get a choice. They will override and these settings will become the way it is. But basically, you know, exchange rates chop and change. Countries can go downhill badly. They can do really well over a period of time, and you know, their rates compared with the dollar can vary considerably. So I can understand the principle. I'm just not too keen on the fact that with all the money they've got, they can't actually do a direct conversion at the point somebody joins for that currency. And what's more, if they could do that, which I'm sure that's possible, other pieces of software do it. Yeah, you know, it's when I pay for something like when I pay my software that I use to edit my videos, I pay an annual subscription for that. That gets converted before the charge is made. Yeah, so you know it is possible to do these sort of things via software, and if it's possible to do it when somebody joins, then it's possible to do it every single month for every single member across the whole of YouTube, because it's only one piece of software, and once it's there and implemented and works, tried and tested, YouTube, then it could apply to all. And that would be the fairest system possible, is that you're using the exchange rate at the time of the transaction. Anyway, it's stated that it does not affect existing members. So their monthly donation remains the same and remains constant, irrespective of exchange rates between their currency and my currency. Obviously, if you're in the UK, this doesn't affect you anyway, because it's the same rate. Anyway, so that's that one. Now the other one is a bit serious. We had an incident in the house yesterday that's difficult to explain, but was incredibly dangerous, especially as the fact that I let the danger carry on while I looked up what the danger was on the internet. Duh, but then I didn't know what the problem was until I'd looked it up. Basically, in the morning I had my eggs for breakfast. That involves a frying pan and the gas hob. Now, when you light your gas hob, it burns a nice bright blue, doesn't it? That means it's burning clean. There are no problems. So later on in the day, I had one of my, what I call junk meals. I try and eat pretty healthily. Not across the board, but reasonably healthily. But every now and again I have what I call a junk meal, which is not healthy. And yesterday was one of those days. It was a Saturday. I just found, and I'd had to go around the little shop round the corner to get some more eggs anyway, because I was out. And I got a pack of ham. And the idea was I was going to have ham, egg and chips. Now chips are about as unhealthy as you can get because of the fat content. The eggs are fine. And the ham is a form of processed meat. You can't go out and shoot a ham, can you? So it's not real meat, it's made meat. So not a very healthy meal, but nonetheless that's what I decided to have. So lit the gas stove to do my eggs, and we had a lot of bright yellow in the flame. I thought, what the hell's doing that? I'll go and look that up. This could be a problem. I didn't know it was a problem at the time. I just thought it implies that the gas is burning dirty. Well, I doubt if it's the cooker, because it's the same cooker I used so many hours ago. Can't have got dirty in between, can it? I haven't spilt anything on it. So I thought, I'll go and have a look. So I went in. While I was looking it up on the internet and reading the detail, the carbon monoxide alarm went off in the kitchen, and that's right next to the boiler. So obviously contaminated air hit the alarm. If it hit the alarm, that air was probably in the whole of the kitchen where I'd been stood breathing. Oh, I thought that was a cat, it's a blackbird. Yeah, so basically the instructions were turn the appliance off and ventilate the room and leave it. Get out, in other words. So I thought, this sounds a bit serious. So anyway, as the alarm would, I turned the gas off basically, and I wafted the tea towel around the alarm to actually get that to shut up, because they are loud. The trouble is, my alarm, well, the other day I burnt me crumpets. I walked away from them and they produced a bit of smoke, and the smoke alarm went off. So that's twice in the last couple of weeks my alarm has gone off. Next door couldn't even hear it, and if they can't, nobody else can. House could burn down, nobody would know. Anyway, so basically I decided that the cooker wasn't dirty, there was no point in cleaning it. And the next thing I did was try all 4 rings. Now 2 of them virtually never get used. They burnt yellow as well. So having tried them, I turned them off again. And then I went and had a look about what else it could be. And rather than the cooker being dirty, you know what it actually was? It was insufficient quality air for the gas to burn clean. The solution? Move all my Phalaenopsis out the way, open the window wide and open the front door to get a through draft. So I did that, and then I thought, well, okay, that's ventilated it. That'll stop the alarm going off and hopefully the air's breathable for me. Carbon monoxide poisoning is not funny. It's got no smell, it's invisible. And a lot of people get killed in their sleep as a consequence of dodgy units, you know, so it's not nice. So anyway, I went and banged on the door next door, like waking the dead, and basically I said, have you got gas? Yes. Could you have a look at, I said, what have you got? Have you got a hob, basically? Yes, we cook with gas. I said, could you go and turn your gas on and see if it's burning blue or if it's got all yellow tinges and flashes in it, like mine has at the moment. So she went away, she came back, she said, no, everything looks fine. So I thought, right, well, it's me. So the problem is me in my house, and it's not the gas supply, because I would imagine, although we've probably got a branch for the 2 houses, it probably starts out in the road the same. Unknown, but anyway, it was okay next door. So I came back in here. By now, chatting to next door, waiting for them to come to the door, waiting for her to try the gas out. By now, obviously, the air in the kitchen has completely changed because of the flow through from the open window and the open front door. So I turned the cooker on and it was fine. So the quality of the air in the kitchen had deteriorated enough that the gas couldn't burn clean. And the most logical thing that was wrong with the air was lack of oxygen. Now, if there was a lack of oxygen in the kitchen, I don't know how that's happening. So that's the next job on the internet. Try and find out how that could happen. How could the air in the kitchen or the house become, you know, of poor quality? So anyway, we'd sorted out the problem. So, you know, I took a deep breath and thought, yeah, that's okay. We're not dropping dead or anything. So we then had to try and find out why. Because I thought, if it's just the oxygen level, the only thing I can think that could possibly do that is the plants, and there's nowhere near enough plants in the kitchen to actually deplete oxygen so bad that gas can't burn clean. So I sort of discarded that, and I thought, well, what else can it be? So back on the internet, and apparently the only logical answer is that ultrasonic humidifiers can have an effect on the air that's used to burn gas. Now, I didn't carry on looking up exactly why and how that happens. All I know is that if it says it does, that's the only logical reason for what went wrong in the kitchen. The humidifier's out here. Now, okay, I have this door open with that running. But if it's getting to the kitchen to stop the gas hob working properly, then the problem with the air is in the lounge, the hall, the kitchen and the downstairs toilet. That's where I live, including out here, which is where I work. So we will be making sure that we don't trap air where that thing is. So that means this door needs to be open now and again to change the air, yeah, not keep it all confined. And opening the door to the lounge, if that actually happens, then we need some fresh air, we need some extra ventilation in the house. But the telltale sign will be if the gas doesn't burn clean. So not funny at all. The good thing that came out of it, at least I know the carbon monoxide alarm works, which is good news. But yeah, that could have been a bit dodgy. As I said, it's been fine ever since. It was fine this morning when I cooked my eggs, and it's never happened before. Right, the next problem we've got is the heat. And this morning, for the first time, you know, they actually say, like, today's Sunday, this is the weather for today, and then this is the weather for tonight, nighttime temperature, pretty warm, sleeping not so good, you know, all that sort of stuff, and then this is the expected stuff for tomorrow. And they then went on a bit, and they said this heat, around the 30 degrees to 32, 33, they're looking at 7 to 10 days. It's not funny. It's just the amount of work, the amount of water I'm going to have to use to keep stuff in the garden alive. It's just on and on. And as I said, this is the third one this year. We're only just into July. Oh, happy belated 4th of July. May the 4th be with you. But yeah, I presume big celebrations, lots of sore heads. I was going to say lots of sore heads this morning, but this morning here isn't this morning over there, is it? So, sorry, that way. Get me directions. You're west, aren't you? Yeah, so yeah, I hope you all had a good time celebrating your is it 250th Independence Declaration? Yeah, I mean, those times weren't very nice, you know, and that was a blink British again, empire building, you know, wherever they went, you know, redcoats went along with the rifles and made everybody do as they were told and all that sort of stuff, you know, and occupied other people's countries, took all their goodies and all their wealth and all their resources and then gave it back to them, which is very nice of us, isn't it? Yeah. That's why we don't bother going to the moon. You know, if we went to the moon and conquered it, there's nobody to give it back to, is there? Anyway, I hope you all celebrated well. Makes me laugh. Celebrating 250 years of independence. There's a house over there that's older than that. So that house is actually 360 years old, that house behind me. Yeah. Yes, age is a strange thing. Right, so that's the heat issue, which means in here is a permanent problem. I will have to do some more RO water because I'm getting through it at a much faster rate, keeping up with watering the orchids themselves, keeping the mats in the trays hydrated and feeding that humidifier. That has to keep up with the fan and potentially the door open. Now several people suggested I get a fly screen so that I can have the door open without worrying about bugs coming in. I'm looking into it. The problem is where it fits. So you have to bear in mind this is actually 2 doors. So the bit down the middle between the 2 doors doesn't go right up to the frame. And I would only want something over one bit of it. But if it doesn't fit exactly, it doesn't really matter, does it? It's still going to keep things like bees and, you know, that sort of stuff out. But yeah, if I put it over that door, there will be a gap at the top of the frame that joins the 2 doors together. As I said, they're a pair. They do both open, although I've never opened the other one. But yeah, it's worth thinking about. Don't know how many more heat waves we're going to get, but we've had them every year now for a while. So, you know, it looks like that's what we're going to have to live with. As I said, it's a bit of a pain. It makes me stop and think about what I'm doing in the garden. You know, it's nice to have garden tubs with plants in, with flowers on and all that, but that becomes work. That's workload all the time. So we won't be getting any more, and we may have less because some things in some of the bigger tubs have actually died. You know, like the huge big tub that had the 2 buddleias in, those buddleias both died. They drowned actually because the drainage got clogged up. And during that long rainy spell that we had, the roots just, basically no oxygen, so the plants drowned. And I can't actually get the stuff out of that tub at the moment. I will have to dig it out eventually because that's too good a tub to waste. But what am I going to put in it? It's a large tub to keep watered and maintained and everything. So we're thinking about that. And I've got work that needs doing in the garden. Well, it can only be done first thing in the morning now. I'm not working in heat. It's already warm out there, and it's whatever it is. 10 o'clock? No, 11 o'clock. Where did that hour go? Did I fall asleep? Don't think so. That happens. Of course, then we've got the football, haven't we, going on. I was watching some film this morning on the news about the Paraguay players. A nasty bunch of people. From what was shown, I mean, okay, it's probably a bit biased, but yeah, it's not nice players at all, doing some quite nasty things on the pitch, under the cameras. How stupid can you get? But you've also got the problem with Mexico. Hostile people jeering and everything like that as the England team, set off to wherever they're staying to play the game in Mexico. Mexico are playing on their home ground in their own stadium, which is at quite a high elevation for the England players. That'll be a bit of a problem for them. Hostile reception when they arrived. They've got riot police with bulletproof vests on to protect the England team because, I mean, the last game that was played in that stadium, the Mexican fans spent all night outside the hotel tooting their car horns with air horns and stuff like that to keep the players awake so they weren't up to the game the next day. It's just football. And that's just nastiness, But they may get their comeuppance because it's Mexican police and, that part of Mexico is not really to be messed with. Those people are used to dealing with the heavily armed cartels and stuff like that. Ordinary football fans, they'll just walk over them, literally. They're not all polite and, excuse me, like they are in flipping the UK. They'll be straight in there. So hopefully they behave themselves. It's just a game of football. And England's game starts at 1 o'clock in the morning UK time. And they've had all on the news about, the pubs are staying open till 4 or 5 in the morning. Now, people are not going to go to the pub at 12 o'clock, 12:30. They're going to go there 8 o'clock. They'll have been drinking for 4 or 5 hours before the game even starts. How are they getting home afterwards? Are they even thinking about going home, or are they just going to stay where they are on the floor? Oh, I don't know. Worried about the kids staying up and then not being any good for school. The trouble is it's law in this country for kids to go to school. They've got to be pretty seriously ill not to go. Parents take their kids out of school to go on holiday when it's cheap because it's a rip-off. The holiday companies put the prices up massively when the school holidays start. So people say, well, blow the law, I don't care, I'm going to get a fine. The fine plus the cheap holiday is still less than it would cost during the school holidays, so they just do it. I look at it like this. Most of what pupils learn in school, it's a bit blunt this, but this is how I feel, is of no use. You do geography. What do you cover in geography? Countries you're probably never going to go to. Quite a few that you wouldn't want to go to, about peoples in some cases you've never heard of. What use is it? If you want to know where, like what I just said, Paraguay, I haven't got a clue where that is, it's South America I presume, somewhere. If I want to know where that is, I just look up a map on the internet. You don't need to have school lessons on it. History. How important is history, really? What use of it is it in day-to-day life, learning how to handle your money, You know, learning about borrowing, learning about mortgages, learning how to cook, you know, learning about travel and things like that. You know, does it really matter whether one arrow in the eye, Arthur in 1066, you know, did so and so? Does it really matter? You can keep these traditions going, but you know, I don't think it's a big deal. What ought to be a big deal is getting kids off their arses and making them move, and getting rid of the screens under their noses as well. So, yeah, a lot of the stuff kids learn in school, you know, a lot of the really complicated maths is only of use if you're going to go into a career that uses that sort of thing. You know, when you've got bloody, you know, logarithms and, you know, all stuff like that, trigonometry and stuff, you're going to go into something that uses that, great. But why should everybody else have to learn it? You know, it's, I don't know, our schooling is strange. Has to be there, and they have to have a curriculum, you know, but a lot of it is no good for day-to-day living when they leave school. Doesn't help them at all. The learning process is important though, the ability to learn, especially if you're going on into higher education, which is now getting looked at quite seriously and in some cases frowned on. Because there's people going on to university, they come out of university with a debt up here that they're never going to repay, I doubt. And they, you know, every time they start to earn a reasonable bit of money, some of that gets taken away to repay their debt from when they were students. And there's an awful lot of university students come out of university and don't get a proper job. You know, they're working at McDonald's, working for Uber. But you know what I mean? Their university degree is not getting used to get a job in that field. So you sort of think, well, why are they doing it then? And people are looking now towards the apprenticeships and the trades and things where you've got guaranteed work. There will always be a need for plumbers, electricians, plasterers and bricklayers. There will always be a need for those trades. Car mechanics, there'll always be a need for those sort of people. You know, there are certain trades that are always crying out for skilled people. Well, get those skills then. Never mind, you know, university degree in some very weird subjects that you can take nowadays. You sort of think you can get a degree in dressmaking, whatever. Oh, that was made up. I don't mean that. But missed. It was a midge. So anyway, that's all that lot. That'll be enough of that. How much of enough is that? Near enough. Yeah, so out here it's just a matter of keeping up. I can't do anything about the weather. All I can do is live within it. And that means keeping the humidity up, trying to keep the temperature down as much as I can. And we now have a newfound evil that I've got to stop happening again, which is the only logical answer is having an effect on the air that is having an effect on the gas. And if that is true, because I can't think what else it can possibly be, is that having an effect on me and my breathing? So we will try and avoid the air from there getting in here and getting in the house as best I can. As best I can. You know, first thing in the morning I often have this door open. Not this time of year, that's when it's not very warm in the house when I get up. And I let some of the residual heat from here go into the house. I can live without that, I can do without that. So, yeah, I just have to keep up. Workload out here can only be done in short bursts and can only be done early in the day. Not working once that sun gets round, not out here. It's too hot. I mean, once the sun hits that roof, the average temperature in here is between 27 and 30, depending on how long that's there for and what the temperature is outside of the glass as well. So the warmer it gets outside the glass, the more effect it has in here. So just keep the humidity up and do the best I can. So yeah, it's all you can do, isn't it? I've got the list of videos that you people suggested. It's written down in my notebook because we had votes, didn't we? Now we've used one of those. It snuck past, and that was how to deal with the compact sphagnum plug that you get when you buy some younger plants. Well, when I redid my Cattleya, that was one, so I ticked that one off. As I said, it sort of snuck past, didn't really make a big announcement about it. So that's that. I've got 2 videos in hand. These are already recorded. They were recorded Friday. So that's 2 for the coming week. Also, we'll have everything in bloom on the 8th. That's coming up. I don't know what it is now, 4th, 5th. So 3 days time is everything in bloom on the 8th. And it can be done on the 8th because it's just a normal weekday. Yeah, so I had to have a moan at the hospital where I'm supposed to be going for this echo scan and a chat with a cardiac specialist because they wrote me a letter saying you've been referred to us, we will contact you to make an appointment. And on the letter it said if you haven't been contacted by this date, then get in touch using this number. That number takes you totally to the wrong place and the person on the end of the phone can't deal with your problem. But they can put you through to somebody who can deal with the problem. So having waited nearly 15 minutes to get through to the wrong person, they then put me through to what was the right person, and I got a pre-recorded message saying, sorry, we're not answering the phones at the moment, try later. Click. So basically I left a voicemail message explaining the problem with all the reference numbers and everything like that, and hopefully they will get back to me. Supposed to have been quite urgent. I don't know. I suppose what's urgent to some is not to others. But yeah, I've still got that to come. Oh, a bit of good news on my medical record. Anything that happens, basically, including like a blood test, all results and everything go on my medical record. I've got access to that. So last time I had a quick look at that, I think it was to order some more tablets. Could do that online as well. The results of my x-ray have come through. Normal, no further action. So we don't have a problem down here. So any problems we've got are to do with that. In a way that's good, because it means there's only one thing to keep working on to fix me, if you know what I mean. You know, you perish the thought of having trouble with the lungs as well. Yeah, at least that's as I said, it's the first x-ray I've ever had. I'm 75. But it's done now and it came back clear. So that's what we like to hear. That's good stuff. So gradually ticking things off, you know, I had the extra blood tests to test the prostate for cancer, that came back okay. Check for diabetes, that came back okay. We're ticking them off, slowly but surely. But yeah, we've still got that appointment to deal with. And when I get to Poole Hospital, I'd like somebody to give me a good explanation of why I was sent to Poole Hospital and not Bournemouth. It's an extra 5 or 6 miles. Now, they don't know I've got my own transport. I might have had to go by public transport. That would have probably taken me about 3 hours to get there, with at least 2 bus changes, 3 buses. It's not funny. Not when there's Bournemouth Hospital's just round the flipping corner. I can get there in 10 minutes. Back road from here, across the top, straight into the hospital. Bournemouth Hospital is just off the main dual carriageway from the A31 Ringwood, where I go to, well, to head off in all directions basically. The dual carriageway peels off of there, goes right into Bournemouth, and the hospital is off one of the main junctions. It's just there, so I can get to that really easy. But no, we've got to go to Poole. There's nowhere to park. You have to use the multi-storey, which means you have to pay. Whereas at Bournemouth I don't. There's side roads that I can get to, which are a relatively short walk if I choose to do so. You can also park in Tesco's. You've got, I think it's It's at least 2 hours of free parking in Tesco to use the store, obviously to get in, get what you want, get out, load your car up. And it's cameras. They do actually keep an eye on cars that appear to be overstaying, and if you overstay too much you do get a fine, if they can be bothered. And the Tesco car park, if you walk out the corner and go along the road, you walk straight into the hospital. So the last few times I've had to go there, I've parked in Tesco's in the superstore. So, but yeah, going to Poole is a right pain. Right pain. Not even a direct route from here. One route goes right up Parkston High Street. That's about 1.5 miles of High Street with traffic lights, pedestrian crossings, people trying to park. That's a really slow route. And the route round the back of there, that's got quite a few junctions and turnings. I'd have to have a flipping good look at that before I set off, or I'd end up getting lost. It's not an area I know that well. But anyway, we will manage once I get an appointment, of course. So we've got that to come. Apart from that, just keep taking the tablets. It's not a big deal. I mean, taking the tablets is a habit. I have blown it quite a few times over with this heat mainly by falling asleep. Now the other morning I put the news on at about 7 o'clock. I put the news on, sat down in my comfy chair with a coffee, and woke up at 9:15. Well, I take my tablets at 8 o'clock. And I've missed the 8 o'clock slot in the evening several times as well for the same thing, falling asleep. So it makes you think. The first thing I sort of stop and think about, if I stay up to watch the football tonight, which I'm not, the only reason I'll be downstairs tonight is if it's just too hot to sleep upstairs. And what I've been doing is the sensible thing. I've been going upstairs I slept upstairs last night. So basically first thing in the morning I throw all the windows and curtains open upstairs, let that heat out that's built up overnight before it gets hot on the other side of the windows. And then a little bit later, after an hour or so, I go up and shut the windows, put the curtains back across again. But I am actually leaving the window in the room that Hannah uses, the bedroom that Hannah uses, I'm leaving that window open permanently now, and the curtains open and the door open, on the grounds that hot air rises and will hopefully end up going out of that window. But it might take the problem with the dodgy air with it. So dual purpose. So as I said, I've never heard of a problem of ultrasonic humidifiers messing up the way that gas burns. I'd like to know what physically is going on. I'll do some work on that. I shall look that up. It just sounds odd. I mean, basically the water is RO water. It gets vibrated on a plate and turned to a vapour, which then rises up and comes out of the nozzle at the top. Well, the air that's involved is air that was in this room anyway, and the vapour is from RO water. How can that be a problem? But, oh well. It's the only logical answer, because I can't believe the kitchen was low on oxygen. I mean, one of the comments on one of the blogs about this sort of thing actually said, if the oxygen was that low that it made your gas burn yellow, you'd be dead. Nice and blunt. Oh, cheers. Well, I'm not, so it wasn't. So, but it is a little worrying when things like that happen. So we will do a little bit more work on it and try and find out a bit more in case I need to adjust anything else to accommodate. So obviously that humidifier is getting used an awful lot. Well, if we didn't have the hot weather, it wouldn't be used anywhere near as much. So maybe it is the continuous use of this that is possibly causing the problem. But if it's causing a problem out here, the only way it can affect the house is if this door's open. So that can stay shut from now on, and we use that one. Let the air out of here, out into the garden. Stop the barbecue working next door. Right, I'm going to leave it at that for now. Thanks for being a viewer on my channel. My viewer numbers aren't as high as they once were. You know, that's fair enough. People come and go from channels. Thanks for being members, those on the Patreon site and those on YouTube. Thanks for sticking with it. It is appreciated. I don't think there's any new ones from last time round. If there is, then the end bit will be adjusted when I'm doing the work in there. And yeah, just thanks for remembering the thumbs up. Doesn't take much, it's right there, even on your phone it's right there. And if you're not a subscriber, it would be nice if you did so. Again, it's not the best name to use because it implies there's a fee involved. Well, there isn't, it's just a tick box. You just add 1 to the number of subscribers for the channel. But it keeps YouTube happy if it sees that number going up. It's not happy if it sees it going down, but it's going up, so that's okay. Slowly but surely is the only expression I can use. It's certainly not rocketing ahead. There are a couple of other YouTube channels I've noticed that are starting to steam away. They've got a long way to go, you know, to get up to one of the biggies. Nobody is ever going to catch Danny. Nobody will ever have a YouTube Orchid channel to match Danny's. She's too far ahead, you know, and nobody else is anywhere near her. That's English speaking, I'll add, because there are some out in the Far East that have actually got very high subscriber numbers, but they're not English. They're sort of Taiwan or Thailand or things like that. But yeah, the English speaking ones, Danny just rockets ahead. Rachel's got high numbers, you know, she consistently increases her numbers and everything, but then she doesn't really do orchids anymore. She's got some. She just isn't an orchid channel like she once was. It's all gardening stuff now. So fair enough. It's a smashing garden. I've been there. You can find the videos probably. I don't know what the trouble is. I was lousy at creating sensible titles in the older days. Whereas now I try and have a title. I think in my head as I make the title up. Is that searchable? If somebody's looking for something about orchids, will they find that if it's relevant to what they're looking for? You know, so a title like Nice Day Today isn't going to do much, is it? It's not going to come up in a search. Nobody goes on YouTube and searches for a nice day today. So, you know, try and get my titles a bit better. I am a lot better nowadays. I still put some daft ones up there sometimes that wouldn't be searchable, but you know, it just depends how I feel at the time and how much thinking I want to do. And sometimes, especially with this heat, I don't want to do that much. Easy going, you know, with the beer. Getting through a bit more beer lately because I like red wine, and the red wine doesn't lend itself to being chilled, so it's not a cool, refreshing drink, is it? I've got some white wine, and that's okay, that is a cool, refreshing drink, but you can't chug it. you end up asleep in the chair, you know, and then you miss the programme you stayed up to see. So the beer works quite well because the alcohol level is much lower for the volume of liquid. It's come out of the fridge, it's nice and cool, so that's working a bit better. But we still have a problem. I went out and sat on the decking with a glass of wine. I had to come in. Still can't do it. Never mind, we'll get there. Right, so that'll have to do for today. I've got gardening bits to do. They will be done in short spurts, first thing in the morning when it's nice and early. I'll have to try and work that. I've got quite a lot of staining to do with the bonsai stands. I need to get on with that really because that could be done first thing in the morning. If we've got 7 to 10 days of heat wave conditions, the theory is there isn't going to be any rain, is there? Well, in which case, doing some staining, it's going to dry, isn't it? It's got warm weather, no rain. I ought to get on with that really. But again, it's something I don't want to be doing it in the heat. So I'd have to do quite a bit first thing in the morning, let that sort of dry, and then put another coat on the next day and sort of work through it like that. We'll see how we go. I mean, I could bring them in here and do them in here, but it's just as hot in here, isn't it? There's nowhere cool. Even in the carport, if I took the stuff round to the carport, backed the car out and tried to do it in the carport, it's just as hot round there, you know. So anyway, there is some work to do out in the garden. I've still got that decking board to put down. Still got to contact Tony and sort out taking the wood back that hasn't been used and borrow his stapler. Having got up on the shed to put a strong weed killer all over that bramble and the green stuff that's up there, with my trainers on, I felt quite secure up there. I wasn't sliding around like I was the last time I got up there. Felt relatively secure. So one morning this week I will get up there with a hedge trimmer and see how easy it's going to be to hack it, and I'll just have to drag it off, you know, into the garden and then spend ages cutting it up into the bags to go up the tip. Given that a lot of it's dead, it'd be a brilliant thing to set fire to. I haven't got anywhere to have a fire. Not without doing damage anyway, so yeah, we'll have to just cut it and bag it. Again, you know, it's a job that can be potted away at. It's getting it hacked down is the main thing to get done. Then once that's done, I can felt the roof. I've got the felt, but I would prefer to do it having Tony's stapler around. But if I do it on a sunny day, the heat from the sun, if I lay the felt out, it will get warm very quickly in the sun, and then it becomes pliable. And I can possibly get away with not needing the stapler and just use the tacks that came with it. Because that's the problem, it's holding it in place while they get the tacks in. So that was the idea of the stapler, you know, just put 4 in like that to hold it in place and then go along with the hammer and the tacks. And again, the bits that go over the edge, you know, it'd be nice to just staple those to hold them while I get some tacks in. So that was the idea of having the stapler. But, you know, could manage without, I suppose, if I tried. Make it a longer job, not quite as easy, but could still be done. If I hadn't thought of borrowing the stapler, then I'd have done it without it, wouldn't I? So plenty of jobs to do out there, and as I said, they've got 2 videos already in hand for this coming week, and we've got the Everything in Bloom on the 8th, so that's 3 videos this week sorted. I'm out on Saturday, Orchid Society meeting. And then the following weekend Hannah's down and we're off to Burnham's, so we'll get some clips from Burnham's and hopefully some new orchids for you to have a look at and for me to look after. Right, anyway, thanks for dropping by, thanks for being around and watching the videos and doing the thumbs up. It's all appreciated, otherwise I'm stood here talking to myself, aren't I? Which I am anyway, but you know what I mean. It's nice to know that there's people around that are going to watch the videos. So, see you next time. Thanks for dropping by.